I'll move them.
And a second?
Second.
Who made the motion?
Tim,
Tim. A second?
Second.
Any changes or corrections or anything we need? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I just got a couple comments on, hopefully we will getting back to normal, whatever normal is sooner or later. The one thing I wanted to do before, as we got started, I really wanted to thank the staff for the continued effort. I was looking through the monthly reports, and boy, I'll tell you, I was really impressed how much has been done under some of the most difficult times. And Jim, your staff, I really want to commend you. You've really been able to accomplish a lot during this period of time of unrest and trying to figure out whether we're coming or going. Thanks and congratulations to everybody on it. You've done a great job.
Yeah. Ditto.
Bills for payment total $7,043.49.
Oh, Rhonda,
Can't hear.
Rhonda's gotta get a little bit closer.
Or face the machine so the mic's at her. There you go.
Okay.
Hey, that's
Can you
better.
hear me now?
Can
Okay.
hear you
That's
now.
better.
So total assets are $221,309.29. Bills for payments totaling $7,043.49. There is an added $66 that needs to be approved, that just come in from Warren County DPW. That's what made it the $7,043.49. You have on your sheet $6,977.49.
We have a motion to accept and pay our bills.
I'll move that.
Second.
All right, second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Everybody else? Okay. Pay for our bills. Correspondence. Let's move to the laptop.
Got a thank you from an individual, John Fair. He's someone we've dealt with in the past. He's an appraiser, and actually, oddly enough, we've worked with him on his property, helping him out. I think Bob gave him some help a few years ago on some plantings and erosion recommendations, and he likes to come in and ask us some questions on wetlands, trying to pull together some of the nationwide Army Corps wetlands and the Park Agency wetland data. So he just sent a nice little card thanking us for our help at this time. And the only other thing I have for correspondence is, we have the hazard mitigation plan, and we actually have tornado listed in there, but the Post-Star, obviously, they had one in Saratoga the other day or last week. So it does happen. Oddly enough, I was sitting on my back porch watching the weather at that time online with Weather Underground. They had the Doppler radar moving across, and I took a couple screenshots, and I think that's what it was. So, the hazard mitigation plan does come in handy, and I'll see hopefully this year we'll get approval to update that through a grant from FEMA. Other than that, I don't have any other correspondence at this time.
Presentations and training will be quiet this month. Office operation. I know Jim's been working on this. Hope everybody had a chance to read it. Kind of the plan as we hopefully get back into a little bit different. yeah, is there anything else we needed? Anybody had any comments or suggestions or anything that we overlooked in the draft or in actually the working plans? Anybody had any other comments or questions, concerns? Covered a little bit of everything.
I think it's very well written and appears to cover exactly what we need to have covered.
Good. All right. Well, I guess we are all set. We'll see the next phase as we go from here. We'll probably be doing some changes in the future. Oh, yeah, we should have a motion to approve it with.
I'll move that.
All right, Tim, second?
Second.
All right.
Yeah, good.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And carry. Thank you, Jim. And staff did a great job. I thought really covered just about everything you think. Arbor Day Tree Planting Program.
All right, hi guys. So this year we did, sorry, it's weird having the feedback from the other computer. All right, so we did only one Arbor Day program, and it was just a few of us there. We planted at Tannery Park in Warrensburg, and that turned out really nicely. It ended up being a memorial tree for Bob Knowles, who was a big person, I guess, in the community for the Historical Society. We also made a little video of the actual ceremony itself, which we've had a little bit of trouble trying to get it up, but that should be happening this week, getting it posted on like our Facebook page and our account on YouTube. The other trees we had 2 sugar maples delivered to Hovey Park, which I don't know if you guys have been over there at all to walk around, but they've been doing like an extensive amount of work putting in a new playground for some kids and a new garden area. So that'll be a nice addition to some of the work they're doing there. We also had 4 honey locusts delivered to the city of Glens Falls, and they've actually already been planted on Glen Street. They're actually not far from you, Mike, so you might see them outside your door. They're in front of the YMCA. And then we delivered 2 more sugar maples to Pine View Cemetery. And so I think, they're all happy with them. They're going to send us some more pictures when they get planted up. And then we'll follow up next year with some of the people that we had planned for to do plantings with originally, and see if they're still interested for next year. So.
Good. Warren County and State Marathon.
Okay, officially unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but before you start, Dean, sorry, I was just trying to get out, but I ran out of Wi-Fi space there to show off the tree that Maren had planted with the group last year out in front of the town hall here. It's leafed out beautifully. It looks real good. So, yeah.
Okay.
But I can't give you the visuals. No bandwidth.
Okay. So you okay? Are you going to do it, or did you try? Or
I tried.
all right.
Yeah.
All right, we'll come back. Okay, so real quick, County Envirothon. Everything is done. Everyone, the 4 teams we had, took the exams. We just finished getting out prizes today. Jim, thank you, has or is in the process of, not exactly in the process of, getting the prizes up to the Glens Falls team, as the teacher lives up here in Thurman. I am working with the Warrensburg team a little bit. I'll be checking in with them on a Zoom chat today. They have to meet as a team with their advisor to take the state exam, which is on the 28th in 2 days. They, like I may have mentioned earlier, they have really good chance because there's only 18 teams competing at the state level. And we've got a really smart bunch of kids, so it looks good. Back up real quick. All the prizes came in, and really thankful. I believe possibly if you guys can grab your shirts when you're in the office today, or you'll have access to them, but all the sponsors stepped up in this time, and actually it was right at the breaking time of the COVID, everything starting off with COVID. So, that goes a long way to say the relationships that they've kept with our organization, which is fantastic. So a big shout out to all the sponsors. RJ, thank you for making sure everything was good. RJ finished off the certificates, rounded up all the prizes, had everything labeled and organized for me. So, well, because she knows me, and it was easy to hand everything out. So, so the county is all set. The Warrensburg team is going to compete this Thursday, and we'll find out how they rank statewide. And and on May 28th, on this Thursday, they start at 8 in the morning. They run till early afternoon, and we'll probably know by the end of the day. So unless there's any questions, in spite of everything going on, we pulled off a pretty decent Envirothon. Oh, one other thing. This in honor or not honor of the COVID situation, instead of a team photo, I know this is really grainy, but I went with a Zoom format of all the participants. It's in draft mode. Jim's looking at it. And that will be the team photo for the plaque that goes to the school. So that's all I have.
Very nice. And Dean, thank you. I'm glad you continued. I think even though there's a handful of teams statewide, I think it's great to continue, and I'm glad it was allowed you to do it.
Yep.
Upper Hudson River Watershed Coalition.
Yeah, so we had a meeting last Thursday. Went really well. We were kind of catching up. We have our DOS watershed plan. Went through the draft period and comments, and now we're going into the final format for that. There's a few extra things we had to do because we weren't able to hold public meetings, so we have to do a big kind of public outreach. So we're going to do a big push for social media for people to see the draft report prior to just going out to print for final. We also went over our DEC grant, which is a roadside erosion grant. We currently have funding in the bank for that. So we're going to keep really close ties on every check that leaves that bank account so we can spend it down without worrying about getting payback from DEC, which is good. So we have some funding in there for projects for us. I am reappointed as treasurer of the group, of the coalition. So it's been a great group to work with. And the Hudson River Waterkeeper and kind of the Hudson River, I'm not sure the exact name of their organization. I think it's the Hudson River Watershed Alliance. They nominated us for the Wavemaker Award for our work on our roadside erosion document. And they also received our draft watershed plan. So our coalition won that award, and Beth Gillis from the Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board will be accepting that on our behalf. I believe in the next couple weeks. Normally she'd go down to, I think, Rockland County, and it's a big dinner they have down there, and the awards are given out, and she's got to give a speech. But this year it's going to be an online meeting, and she's going to accept the award on our behalf that day. So yeah, some good news from the Upper Hudson Coalition side of things, and that's what we're looking at right now.
Yeah, it's always nice when you get an award for work done. Good job. Warren County Water Quality Strategy Committee.
Just a second. One quick question for Nick.
Yeah.
Nick, are you fully recovered?
Am I fully? Yeah, I'm pretty close. You know, I'm getting there. Still moving a little slow, but things are getting back to normal.
Keep it up.
Thank you.
Good for you.
So you can dance and everything else now, right, Nick?
That's right. The hip is as good as new.
No excuse. You got to mow lawn. You got to, do work now. You can't get away with that excuse anymore. Okay, you got Quickney?
Laptop. We had a Quickney Zoom conference the other day, or a teleconference, I should say, the other day. So Quickney is a Champlain Watershed Improvement Coalition of New York. It's smaller than the Upper Hudson Group. There's only 5 counties. It's Warren, Washington, Essex, Clinton, and Franklin counties, and the regional planning boards included. So between the 2 greater watershed organizations, our county is covered entirely by those 2. One of the challenges this year with Quickney is that basically there's about $4,000 or $5,000 a year of expenditures, insurances primarily, and a few other things that add up to that. And that is usually covered by the Stormwater Trade Show. I know several of you have gone to the Stormwater Trade Show. I think it's 14 years or 15 years it's been going on. And it was decided last week that Quickney would cancel the Stormwater Trade Show for this year due to uncertainties and bookings and everything else. So fortunately, Quickney has been around for a little longer, and they do have funding to get through this. Yeah, I think you're going to start seeing this on a greater level with different groups and organizations trying to figure out where additional funds are going to come from to cover the base needs. The Lake Champlain Basin Program had put out a grant for not-for-profits 2 months ago, basically to help cover some of the costs for that. So funding agencies are trying to assist as much as possible. So, but Quickney does have a grant, a DEC grant that the Regional Planning Board is managing, and it has to do with roadside erosion, stabilization projects. If you recall, last year, Marn worked on one up on Decker Hill Road with the Town of Hague Highway Department. So that's something that we're continuing to work on with the highway departments. Basically pays for supplies and materials to take corrective actions on roadsides. So that's just a brief update from Quickney. We do get funding through Quickney occasionally for grants. Most of the time, though, we write the grants to the Basin Program ourselves. I should say one of the things that we're managing for Quickney is Dean's taking care of working with the county and Quickney and Upyonda to get a virtual reality, we call it a sandbox, but it's a model. We talked about this last year when we put the application together for Quickney. It's going to be pretty, I think, pretty useful and very helpful to Upyonda and other groups who use it at Upyonda. To stand in place model and allow you to change topography. It'll allow you to build streams and reproject elevations. You can overlay GIS maps. You can overlay JPEG maps. I even saw a video that someone took it and did the entire continental United States and formed it so it was exact to what you would have for scale. So I don't know if we'll be doing that, but at least Upyonda will have that as a teaching tool, and I think it'll be a nice complement to the Ed Center. So.
Warren County Water Quality Strategy Committee meeting.
All right, that's back to me. So tomorrow, if you're interested, you all received the information for the water quality meeting. Nick sends it out. He developed the Zoom account, and he's who I lean on for that. Obviously, going to do it all through Zoom and virtual connections here. So if you would like, just feel free to log on. It's kind of a normal agenda, I would say. The Water Quality Strategy Committee meets 4 times a year. We canceled a meeting in April at the kind of the beginning peaks of this event. Chris Belden from Warren County Planning is the vice chair of the group. I'm sorry, is the secretary of the group, and Allison from Regional Planning is the vice chair. And both kind of said they'd like to have the meeting. So after getting through tree and shrub, we had a little teleconference and decided that would be a good idea to pull together the people who are interested in participating and seeing what's going on on their lakes, in their neighborhoods. I know that the contract harvesters for Loon Lake have started. I think that they are starting or going to be starting soon on Brant Lake if they haven't already. And yeah, it's a good idea to see what's going on, particularly since Park Agency just approved a chemical treatment in Minerva Lake with a new chemical for erosion and milfoil control. So there are a lot of items that are going out there, and this is the type of thing where one lake association or one neighborhood group can hear that someone else is working on in a similar vein of their interest, then they can really connect that way. So I'd invite any of you who are interested to participate, be on, or we could be the noise in the background if you'd like. So.
Yeah, if anybody is going to be involved, please contact Rhonda so she can include that. Now we'll go into the current grant project updates.
Who do you want to start with, Jim?
Well, according to my conversation with Baraka, he believes.
You hear us?
Yeah, who do you want to start with, Jim? Oh, we can't hear you.
All right.
You gotta turn the computer toward you, I think.
Dean.
Who we start with? Sorry.
Can you see me, Nick?
Yeah. You said.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Start with Dean.
All right. Go ahead, Dino.
Okay, DEC round 15. We've gotten about 3 projects under our belt. The most recent one we just did was over in where the heck was it? Thurman, I believe. We just did a lot of addition, 0.6 mile, excuse me, Chestertown, I digress. Sorry, Mr. Leggett. Went up there and sprayed for Jason up on Palmer Pond Road, took care of everything all the way up and down both sides. And we're ready to go. Some highway groups are together and fully staffed, some aren't. And with the realignment of priorities, we've had a few requests that are small. I'm waiting on full loads to go take care of a project in Lake George, and another side project in Queensbury, and a small project possibly at the Municipal Center. But other than that, we're good to go. Machine's ready to go. We have all the materials. We're right on top of this year, and as soon as the requests come in, we'll be able to get out and take care of things. That's all.
Okay. Any questions?
I have a question. Hey, Dean?
Yes, sir.
Dry hydrants, we had talked about moving dry hydrant over there at Loon Lake. Are we still able to do that at some point?
Yes, we can. I just need to revisit that plan, and that is going to require a discussion with Kathy Suazo because of the lack of approval authority, but we certainly can. That's the one at the park next to the dam? Correct. Yeah, Maren and I actually a little while ago had drafted those plans, should be good to go unless there's been no change in UFPO. It should be a quick revisit. We should go over the site, and do you know who's taking the lead on that, Craig?
Warren County Soil and Water.
No, I meant. Is the chief gonna be the point of contact for that, or the highway, or?
Geez, I'm trying to think back because we discussed this, 2 or 3 years ago on that. I'll have to get back to you on it. And it's not a high priority item. We're going to be doing work at the dam. We put a well in there by the dam. There's chain link fence to go in. At some point, we will have a excavator over there digging a trench. So it'd be one of those things just to do it all at once if we're out there digging.
Okay. Yeah, I know in the original plan, we were gonna run from that tree close, second last tree closest right up to the parking lot for ease of fire apparatus. So, yeah, I'm ready to revisit it. We can meet at the site and I'll bring all the notes that Mara and I took and we'll move
Okay.
forward.
Thanks.
You bet.
Anything else for Dean?
Okay, Bob?
You know. Are we there? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. We're talking about the Lake Champlain Habitat grant we received. It breaks down into 4 components. We've got floating wetlands. We're putting in 5 of them. Dean and I will probably start that sometime this week, and anyone else who can help us. I believe Alex is going to assist us at the Land Conservancy for one in their pond, and we'll try to get those going later this week. There's also the invasive plant removal from the Halfway Brook watershed. My son and I did a recon from Dixon Road in Queensbury to Quaker Road a couple weeks ago. Might have been a little early for invasive plants to be up, but we found none from there. You know, Nick has reported several spots, so we will start removal of that probably in mid-June. We got to give the plants time enough to get up to be easily recognizable. Next is a habitat component, where we're going to be putting in some aquatic wildlife habitat along stretches of Halfway Brook. But we'll do that as soon as the water's down a little. The 4th component is a pair of rain gardens, or pollinator gardens along the Warren County bike path that Mars is going to be running. So we'll let her speak to what the situation is with those.
Yeah, so we originally had planned to put in the pollinator gardens. There's 2 gardens there. There'll be one that's 800 square feet and one that's 1,000. And those were originally planned for June. But I've been speaking with the Warren County Parks and Rec Department, who would be helping us with putting it in, and I think they want to maybe push it back a little bit. I did speak with the donator for our Fix-It station for people to work on their bikes, and they are still going to donate the bike station, so I'm really happy to hear that. I wasn't thinking we were going to get that donation still. So, but we'll, be moving forward with that, and hopefully we can get a few volunteers for planting. So.
And for those of you, you don't have to turn it back. Matter of fact, it's better that you don't. And what you should do is pay attention to Jim and Mark's camera, because in the background against the windows, you'll see 3 of the floating wetlands are sitting there. You'll see 3 of the floating wetlands are sitting there. They look like mats with holes in them, which is what they are. Each one, there's 3 of them there, and they're going to be going into Crandall Pond in Glens Falls, Hovey Pond in Queensbury, and the Land Conservancy's pond up in Bolton Landing. We have 2 previous ones that we put out earlier in the cellar. We won't bring it downstairs so you can see those. You're good to go.
Okay, any questions? Okay, Maren, NACD.
Okay, back to me. All right, so yeah, Nick and I, we made a lot of headway at the Warrensburg Community Garden. We went ahead and looked at kind of like our timeline for the project, and we ended up moving up some of the projects that we had planned to do with the water department ended up happening earlier. So, we have one of the beds planted The other bed, we're gonna have that cleared out this week and also planted. And then they've already built our composter system, which wasn't supposed to happen till late summer. And I think today they're over there working on installing that for the garden, as well as clearing out the space for the hedgerow. So we should be putting in the plant order for the plants for the hedgerow and getting on that as soon as we can here. So,
Okay, as everybody knew, that is the Warrensburg location. Nick, Trinity Rock project.
Yeah, so I had a meeting. Our engineer on this project is Kathy Suazo and her partner, Corinna Martino. She's out of Saratoga. So we had a meeting just to catch up, get everybody back on track on Tuesday last week. Went really well. We're setting up some test pits with Rob Lanfear, the highway super for Lake George. So we're going to do 2 test pits down there because we think we have pretty shallow bedrock, which will determine the size of the stormwater separator we can get in there. Corinna has come up with two designs. One of the designs is going to be around 16,000. That's the bigger of the 2 separators. The other one I think will be like 11 or 12 if we hit bedrock really shallow. So that's a really shallow system we can put in there. And then this Friday, we're meeting with the town of Lake George, zoning, highway department, the engineers, and the landowners down on Trinity Rock to inspect the outfall area, inspect the pipe. We're going to see if the village of Lake George will camera that pipe for us. So that project is moving right along and is looking good. So I think after this meeting, we'll pretty much, once we get our test pits, we'll be able to wrap up the engineering on this and have a final design to be ready to be installed.
Nick, where's Trinity Rock?
So Trinity Rock is right when you're going north through the village and you turn onto 9N, heading towards Bolton. It's a couple miles down on the right. It's a steep road, a lot of bedrock, and it's a big outfall that goes right to the lake, kind of funnels down that area. Can't remember the acreage of the watershed, but it's been a big problem for the residents in that area, as well as the town of Lake George has had their eye on it for a while. It's just a very difficult location to do any sort of stormwater treatment, just due to how compact the houses are there, the bedrock, the steep slopes, and the large outfall to that system. So it's kind of an end of pipe solution, which is all we really could do. We're looking up in the watershed a little bit to try to upsize some of the catch basins to capture additional materials that can be easily vacuumed out by the highway department, but it's an extremely tough area to work in.
Okay, thank you. Jim, new DEC grants.
Okay, so we're still waiting for DEC to move on the grant awards from last November, December. I know the plans of work have been submitted by the staff, and but I have not received any confirmation for signatures. So those are a little bit up in the air. And as I had in my report, I think I had in my report, if there are any DEC water quality improvement project funds provided this year, they're going to be later in the year. I personally will be surprised by it. It wouldn't surprise me if we had a grant round, but it would surprise me if they don't award until next year. So this will certainly be an interruption in our projects and programs, but you know, we have right now numerous grants, one-year grants with the Basin program and several DEC grants. So as far as assistance to the communities, I think we're in pretty good shape outside of our everyday type of work.
Okay, anything else? Okay, the Community Conservation Program Review. I know we got a request here from Dean.
Yep, the request that came in from mental health, we've had that. Originally, she had placed the request for materials just for mulch for the gardens. I think I possibly briefly spoke to that because we got it late before the last deadline. And I had sent a letter back asking for a little clarification because requesting $1,000 for just mulch, they could probably mulch a quarter of the city. But what she came back with was a better explanation of some of the materials that she could use to fix up the gardens in one of the greenhouses down there. That attachment, I think, should have came through, or I had an email that clarified everything. Felt very comfortable with it, and I think this is a new, appropriate. I didn't have any negative dings on it necessarily, other than whatever input you have, and if you have any questions as you consider it, I'd be more than happy to answer.
I think the one thing that we talked about was usually these are reimbursable grants through this section of Part C that we have. We already have the funding, but in light of the issues with all the municipalities having potential funding cuts to agencies, we wanted the board to consider they can't do the project unless they're going to get funding. We have it in our budget to pay for that. Can we buy the materials ourselves and provide it to them? And it's a way of getting the project completed and on time. Dean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's what we discussed.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, a second point, when it comes up, I will give an update on Camp Reed, which will not, the board had asked us, myself, Bob, and we got Jim Pinero from DEC to go out and evaluate that. That will not necessarily be an award after, when we get to that discussion. So, but yes, what Jim had just mentioned with regard to the request for mental health is spot on.
Okay, so we need a motion for the proposal for $1,000.
I would move that.
Second.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion on this? I'm hoping, Jim, maybe in the future we can have, as things change, we get a chance to get down there. Maybe that'd be a great field trip. Like, I hope to see.
Yeah, this is an interesting project. So they're in our AEM program, and we also worked with them to get some of the materials that they're ordering through our conservation program is for their high tunnel that had sat dormant because the original manager of the gardens had left last year, so they were kind of in a transition period, and the high tunnel didn't get planted in that transition period, so it kind of burned up all the organic matter and kind of solarized the soil in there. And so I think that's what they're looking to do with the high tunnel, is rejuvenate it with some of this funding. And they grow a lot of produce in that high tunnel, and it goes back to feed the residents at the Warren Washington Mental Health Hospital it's connected to.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. I mean, this is a kind of a self-sufficient program for them as well. So, it's not like it's just out doing research or education. So it is.
I think it looks like an excellent use of those funds.
Okay, we need a vote on this. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Yeah, one thing before we go on into, we should hit the Camp Reed discussion.
Yeah, I will, as soon as I'm done talking, Maren can scooch the monitor over to Bob if she wants. But so Bob and myself and Jim had gone out. We met Chris O'Connor on the site. He's the keeper, the groundskeeper out there. We evaluated the site. I'll just give you the 2 cents worth, and that was based on the 250 fish that we stocked last year. Jim and Bob had come up, Jim in particular, and they both came up with the conclusion that the overwinter carrying capacity of that pond, that is a sufficient volume for it. So when I call back, I'm going to be talking to Tom Liberati and the current situation with the program, not necessarily having the kids this year. I think it'd be an ideal time for them to take a step back and take a look at how productive that first stocking was. And if you want a little more technical jargon, I surrender the rest of the discussion to Bob. Bob, do you have anything you wanted to add to the site visit at Camp Reed? There you go.
Okay. Like Dean said, we went out with Jimmy Panero. And his major concerns were the pond is relatively shallow. There doesn't appear to be large aquatic vegetation patches in the pond. He asked us if during the high season, midsummer, if we could go out and do a quick chem analysis of the lake, looking at temperature, stratification of the pond, dissolved oxygen content, and he thought if we could talk Randy Rath into flying their drone over the lake, we could also search for areas that are being used for spawning. He thought that adding a greater population to it without finding any kind of natural reproduction might be a waste of money. So I talked with Randy. He's agreed in theory, at least to come up early one morning and we'll fly the drone around looking for weed beds and looking for fish nests, probably in mid-June. And we'll run our YSI over the deep areas and take some chemical readings from there and get a general idea on the condition of the pond for keeping fish species. That's about it.
So
Any questions?
Anything else, Dean?
No, I was just going to say, so in summary, I do not believe they need an award at this time. In good faith, we are going to do some work in lieu of it. And I did have another point. The other point was, again, we're very fortunate to have a great relationship with DEC. And this was actually an area that the DEC didn't necessarily have a lot of research on. So Jim Panero appreciated the fact that we had asked him to go out in the field and take a look at the site and get involved. So that's all.
Good, thank you. Now we go from May, we go to our June board meeting.
So I'm assuming everybody wants to do the same, has an option of Zoom or in-office attendance.
Oh, Jim's got to move the computer closer to him. We can't hear.
Okay, I moved to 12 inches, so hopefully that takes care of it. So I'll assume that we'll keep it the same if people want to participate with Zoom or they want to attend in person, that they can, and we're still closed to the public. So this is only for directors and staff. So everybody else will have to watch it online. Any problems with that?
No, that
problem.
should work out.
No.
That sounds good.
All right. Board of Directors reporting info. Anybody have anything or comments, concerns, issues, good fishing trips, turkey hunting, whatever? Boy, that's good. All right. So we'll go into Jim and other.
All right, a few things have come up. One thing, I reached out to the county this morning. We're going to talk about getting a webcam installed here. Make it a little easier, have one computer and have it kind of a theater style. That'd be a little bit better. Potentially a microphone as well, but that just plays into a larger plan of, what does the future hold? So I think moving forward here, probably doing away with all pretty much as they die, the desktop style, and going with laptops for ease of communication and portability. We don't know what's going to happen, but a laptop, a basic laptop now will do more than my tower will do that's 2 years old. So I think it's just a progression in technology that we have to look at. So I'll have to put together some ideas that go along with that. I do have from our Part C funding a project that we had approved earlier in the year, and we were just waiting for the MOU or the agreement. It's the 2020 SUNY Adirondack Water Quality Sampling Program Support Agreement. We were providing SUNY Adirondack $2,000 to sample Glen Lake and Lake Sunnyside. So it's changed a little bit from, I changed it up a little bit. We're just looking for a final report. We get the information that we need, and it's worked out very well. As I mentioned in the last meeting, there's no students involved in it this year. It's going to be the staff, Holly Ahern and Lynn Hare, and potentially someone else from SUNY Adirondack due to COVID. But I just need to get approval to sign this, and we can send it off this afternoon.
Accept this agreement with SUNY Adirondack? Motion?
I'll move it.
Okay, Craig, second.
Second.
Any discussion, questions, concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Good.
Yeah, a few other items. We got a report a week and a half ago from Dr. Jim Sutherland, former DEC research scientist. He does a lot of work for the fund at Lake George Waterkeeper and the fund. It's the Westbrook Conservation Initiative Stormwater Improvement Ponds Monitoring Program. So it's a technical report, but the nicest thing is Jim does a good summary at the end. It doesn't appear to have changed significantly. Bob, you can jump in if you need to. From last year, it does. The ponds are doing well as far as phosphorus. I'm not going to get into the different types of phosphorus, but overall phosphorus and nitrogen are generally treated fairly well. We had them add in this past year a new sample, and it was a sediment sample for heavy metals, because the sands and materials at the head of this would be having the material in there, and if we're dredging that out, somebody's accepting it, what are they taking? So overall, the composition was fine. You had some small amounts of just about everything in there. Iron was a little high, but iron is also a component of the high groundwater there with leaching. So overall, the wetlands are functioning. I believe this year, we did some cleanup. Bob, myself, Dean, Alex Novick, Pat, and Randy from the LGA, along with gentlemen from the village. We were down on Friday. We cut some trees out that were tangled up in the immense number of Oriental bittersweet vines between the Battlefield Park and the property. And also picked up garbage. Basically, the village of Lake George hasn't been doing that because of the lack of time that they've had, and we understand that. So we wanted to get that looking a little better, so we all went down there and did that socially distanced and wore masks on the 82-degree weather. It was wonderful. But we got it done. We were very pleased with it, I think. And I believe in September, as things start to wind down, we're going to work on getting a couple crews from the county there and some volunteers, and we're going to cut some areas of cattails out. The cattails actually weren't ever planned on being there, but it's a natural habitat for them. They're kind of taking over, so you might as well use them. We will cut them while they are still productive. Take as much mass as we can out of several areas. We're not going to denude the whole site of cattails, but take a bunch of cattails out and then compost them, because that'll should get rid of a fair amount of phosphorus and nitrogen and organic matter that won't be recycled. So, but we do have a meeting, a Zoom meeting or a conference on Thursday. I think at 10 o'clock. Seems to be 10 o'clock. So we'll go into some more detail on that, and that's actually the management committee. That's the 3 E's: the LGA, the Land Conservancy, and the fund. The county, the town of Lake George, or sorry, the village of Lake George, our office, and a few other folks will be discussing this report along with any other work that's going to be going on at Westbrook. But so far, it is functioning pretty well. The gravel wetland is not hooked up, but there's some issues with that, mainly high groundwater. So, any questions on Westbrook? Okay. 2 last items for me. Marn and I this morning went out over to
Jim,
Yes.
Sorry, I was on mute. The county has a contract with you for the management, correct? And-
Correct.
And that is good for another year,
Yes.
you say? Okay.
Yep.
Good, thank you.
The we did some invasive species mapping using IMAP Invasives New York. We're trying to work a few bugs out of it, no pun intended. I've taken a few data points and they haven't appeared on the map. And I went and looked at Marin's suggestion, making sure I'm in under Warren County Soil and Water, and I am. We are thinking that it's a matter of they're not updating due to staffing levels. But we went out and Marin, I think we got about 12 to 14 data points. I was surprised actually on some of the back roads. We were only out for about an hour and a half or 2 hours. So we kind of did we went up, we went 418, Bowen Hill, Mountain Road, that area, up a little bit on South Johnsburg Road. And the predominant species that we saw were Japanese knotweed followed by Phragmites. But, there's honeysuckle everywhere, so we're not even sure how to mark that. But the nice thing is we did find, if there is a nice thing about finding invasive plants, we found a few areas where if the TNC or the APIP wants to come down and do treatments, they're very small, looks like early introductions, so they could actually eradicate those areas. So that's something that she and I are going to be working on. It's a good time, especially on the town roads. There's not a lot of traffic, but I think she would agree that when we moved to the county roads, the traffic picked up, and when we were in 418, it was as if nothing was any different than a year ago. So we're definitely going to try to hit the town roads as much as possible. Any questions on the IMAP invasive species mapping? We did discuss if anybody is interested. This is mainly for roadside information. It's a database that gets collected. But if you know anybody who has invasive species, or if you're interested or in the town, other places, please let us know. We can come out, and we can, even on private properties, we can obviously come out and take the data point if the landowner is interested. It's just providing data. My house is on there because I've got some invasive species. So I figured if I'm going to walk the walk, talk the talk, I better walk the walk. So I'm on there.
Hey, Jim?
Yes.
There's back of the town hall here, there's purple loosestrife in the wetland areas. Does that stuff get mapped?
It does. We were talking about that earlier. We don't know how much purple loosestrife is out in some of the areas we drove because it hasn't flowered yet. And obviously that's the easiest way to determine that. But we can certainly come up if you haven't done it yet and map that for you.
Okay.
And lastly, if you haven't, I know some of you are part of the New York State Forest Owners Association. If you have not gone on to, let's just say YouTube and looked at Forest Connect, which is through Cooperative Extension, they have a bunch of presentations and videos on forestry and forest practices led by generally Peter Smallage, who is the extension forester for the state. They're excellent to watch. They're very, very well done. I just watched one not too long ago about deer exclusion. And a lot of time it's fencing, which is fairly expensive, but if you're having a logging operation done, they're now constructing slash walls. These are not small things, but if you have a fair amount of property, they're about 10 to 12 feet wide, about 12 feet high, and it's built on tops, slash materials that wouldn't be going to any type of a biofuel plant or any type of finch and prine or anything. And they're having very good success in regeneration. What I did learn through a couple of their videos was basically, it's kind of hard to say that you should see 10 times as many plants out in your woodlot as you do. But let's just say you're supposed to see, maybe you see one plant, you're supposed to see 10. Well, 5 of those plants are killed just by your local deer. So they're 50 to 60% impact on the flora of the woods. It was pretty amazing to see. And that's not just seedlings, but it's also wildflowers, Indian cucumber root, anything that we like to eat, they like to eat. So it was pretty interesting to show the impact that deer have even on our low population of deer. You get in some areas, they have a significant impact. But I would encourage you to check out Forest Connect. Just if you can't find it online at YouTube, let me know. But they have a whole series going back a few years. I think it's very well done. That's what I have.
Anybody else add something to the report? Dean?
No, I'm okay. We're going to be loaning out some turbidity curtains to DEC and site visit. I've been doing some site visits recently, so that's about it. Unless there are any questions.
Any questions for Dean? They're going to have a hockey season, Dean?
I hope so.
Okay. Nick, any other thing to add?
Yeah, I see Mr. Stroud has joined us. I'd like to thank him for his kind words about our office in his last board meeting. I think maybe Susan, you forwarded that email to us. Thank you for that, and thank you, John, for talking so highly of our office at your meeting. Our AEM strategic plan is due. It's a 5-year update. So Martin and I have started updating it, and we'll be sending out an email shortly for a review committee. So the whole board will get it. And it's basically just reviewing our updates, having one meeting, giving us your input, and then Martin and I will update our plan, which will last for another 5 years, of how we want agriculture to, and our agricultural program to be geared for the next 5 years in Warren County. And that's about the only updates I have right now.
Okay, Maren. How about Maren?
Hi guys. All right, so I guess, yeah, I don't have much more to report. I think I touched on this in my actual board report, but we are gonna gear our Champlain Basin Program grant for the invasives trainings. That'll be an online webinar. So we're gonna offer 3 webinars, one for, I think, every month, and basically just have like an online session after for like discussion and questions. And then we're still gonna be distributing the scouting and restoration toolkits. We're just looking for a location to give those away, and that's in the basin. So, but that's it that I have to add. So.
Okay, last but not least, Bob.
About the only thing I want to mention, last year we have our Lakes and Ponds program that we started a couple of years ago. Last year was really a dry year for it, no pun intended. Only did 1 or 2. This year, to date, we've already done 10. I suspect it has people sitting at home with nothing to do, looking out at their ponds, figuring they'd find out what was going on there. But yeah, the phone's been ringing off the hook for our pond program, and we visited 10 of them to date. But like I tell most of them, the real information will be at high summer when the waters are at its warmest. Most of them were asking about their ability to hold certain fish, so I told them we'll have to revisit them in mid-July or something to run our numbers and talk to them about that. But it's been real busy on that phone number for this year. That's about it.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for anybody on the staff?
All I want to say is keep up the good work and everybody stay safe.
Yes, and make sure, send in the signed sheets to Rhonda. She needs them all signed and sent in. Right, 4 of them?
New York State DEC, or New York State Deferred Compensation Plan, we have that through the office. And the contact Brittany, she sent me that we have an option to add a Roth contribution. It's no cost to the district, it's just a benefit for the staff. I suggest that maybe we, adopt it.
How about a motion to accept it as proposed?
I'll move.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, carried. Anything else we need to cover? Okay, everybody stay safe. And we will be in touch. Continued good work for the staff and
John Straw. has
John would
something
like to give an update.
and a adjournment. We need a motion to adjourn.
Oh, John Stroud
Oh, John,
has
I'm
something
sorry.
update. Yep. Oh, you gotta unmute yourself, John.
Yes.
Is this working?
Yes.
It is.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Well, you guys are the guinea pigs. I got this new setup here on my workstation. And this is the first Zoom meeting that I'm using the town's equipment. Before that, I was using my laptop. So everything works. Thank you very much. And I just want to tell Bob that I cleaned out that wood duck house and it did have feathers in it. I can't tell you what kind of bird was living in it, but I cleaned it out, put new shavings in it, Bob.
Okay, thank you. And we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Tim, second.
Second.
Mike, okay, and all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Adjourn.
Aye.
Be safe.
Thanks.